Hey guys, Matt Jones here in Juachon, Busan. It's a small town right in the centre of Busan, literally. So on this direction, in that way, we've got the Busan station where the KTX arrives from Seoul, and also the Busan harbour where the ferry departs to different places. And behind me, about 3 or 4 stops, we've got the centre of Busan Financial and Business District. So we're pretty much right in the centre of Busan itself. Further to our backs here is the famous Hyundai Beach, and it's all around. But behind me, what we can see are photographs of Australian faces on this tiled wall. It's most extraordinary. The reason I'm here today is it's the 15th of October. And I've come to Busan because it's actually an anniversary. It's not well known, and it's maybe even a little bit redundant today. But it's the anniversary date of the first school set up by Australians in Korea back in 1895. Now these photographs behind us here are well-known people here in this town. On the top left we see the father of these 2 girls, James Mackenzie and Catherine and Helen Mackenzie. James Mackenzie set up was a missionary who set up he wasn't a doctor, but he set up a mission looking after lepers here in Busan, but across what was then Gyeongsang-do, one of the southern provinces, the southern province in Korea. And his 2 daughters were educated all his 4 daughters were educated in Pyongyang, but these 2 ladies went back to Melbourne, studied medicine and nursing respectively, and then came back to this town, and in 1592 they set up a hospital just up the road. But it's interesting to think that those photographs are actually some time after the first girls' school was established here in this town, and that was so we're talking almost 20 years after the time the first girls' school was established. These people were born, and it's right in the heart of a little walkway here that's been beautifully arranged with this mural. You can see the Korean Taegukgi flag that breaks apart as we walk up. It's a great a little walkway that's inspired by the great passion that Koreans have for their own country. So this story becomes all the more curious when we see this mural showing a interpretation of what happened in 1919 in Busan, where students from the girls' school, which I was just mentioning, staged a resistance against the expressions of Japanese colonialism. It was an extension of what had taken place on the 1st of March, early that year, 1919, in Seoul, out of Tapgol Park, where there was a massive resistance against the Japanese. But the resistance here in Busan originated from the school that was established by Australians in 1895. The schoolhouse where the school was based out of was near where those 2 girls, those 2 ladies I showed you before, actually lived. And in 1951, when they sailed back into Busan harbour, they actually remarked to each other, "We're home." Actually, the first of a number of first-generation Koreans, if you like, well before we had first-generation Australians in Australia. And so this place is small and almost an insignificant town, but littered with history. So you can see a small black stone near this road sign there. That's a tribute to James Mackenzie. And this walled temple here is to a colonel who was one of the first commanders to get killed during the 1592 initial invasion of Korea by the Japanese, which marked the beginning of the Imjin Wars. A guy called Jongbal, who famously commanded all those people who were under his command here at the bottom of Busan Castle, which is up the hill, the steep hills. He said, anyone can go, you're free to leave, but if anyone asks me to leave my post, I'll cut his head off. And then just down this road we have the Busan Jin Hospital, which the two sisters set up in 1592, and it would become quite a large operation now, having quite a big influence on the lives of many people because of its focus on maternal and child and infant health. So you can see around here the steepness of the streets coming up up this hill. Busan Castle, which was built by the Japanese, never actually occupied by the Japanese commander at the time, but it's at the top of this hill. And in here, this building is the Busan Jin Church, which was established in 1890 after the first Australians arrived in 1889. The girls' school I was telling you about, the initial building, is just over this rise. We'll go and have a look in a minute. It's interesting because it's one of the few remaining pre-colonial structures, architectural structures, in existence in all of Korea. So in this little place of less than 100 meters, we've opened a can of worms in terms of what is the story of friendship between Australia and Korea. What does it matter from the past, and what bearing does it have on our focus on innovation in how we engage more rigorously with our social and business connections into the future? I think there's a direct correlation between the stories from the past and where we're going in the future, this next chapter, this new era that we're looking at. The stories of the past that I've briefly glanced upon here, they focus on things like the role of women, the importance of health, the importance of education, the importance of us having a mutual understanding of each other's culture, a story of sacrifice and of service. It goes on and on. There's so many rich stories in there, and they're our stories. They're our stories, Korean and Australian stories that we share. They're our legacy. I think we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to our friends, both in Australia and Korea, to spend a bit more time asking, what are those stories, who is involved, and what do they mean for us now? Come and join me on this journey. Let's find out more.